Hey Axis and Allies players, this is the Good Captain. Welcome to my third video in the series on Axis and Allies Classic, and this video is titled My Board. I'm going to be going over all of the enhancements that I've made to this version of Axis and Allies so that there are really no distractions when we get to the strategic videos, which are going to be the next 5 videos in this series. I don't want anybody wondering, how I did that or where did I get that. I'm going to try to answer all those questions here in this video. So let's just kick this off with the board. First and foremost, modifying your board is probably the biggest thing you can do to whatever version of Axis and Allies you have. And I have my original board up here on the whiteboard. So that's the original board. When you open up the Milton Bradley version, this is what you get. And measuring it off of the yellow and black dashed line that goes around the edge of this, this measures 18.5 inches by width approximately by 32 inches in length. And my board is 23 inches in width and 39 inches in length. How I did this was with a high resolution photograph off a very expensive camera and I then used GIMP to clean up the board spines here. And then I went down to my local FedEx and printed it out. It was about $70. I used a vinyl banner material that rolls up very easily, as you can see here. And the thing I like about it is that after it's been rolled up for a long time, it still lays flat very easily. It doesn't take very long for the roll to completely come out, and then you've just got this very flat surface. It's awesome. One thing I don't like about it is whatever blemishes get on this material are pretty much there, and you're stuck with it. So if you smudge it, or even worse, if you spill some food on it, you won't be able to clean it. At least I don't know how you could clean it. So be careful if you decide to go that route. And the reason I'm telling you all this is because if you really like this board that I'm using in these videos, you can make your own. I'm going to put a link in the description below to where this exists, this exact PDF, I think it's a PDF, that I put up on axisandallies.org. That's the board, and we'll go ahead and go into the pieces now. One thing before we get down and take a closer look, I will say, you've probably noticed in my other videos, or my first video, and perhaps now, that I kept the original colors. I kept the original colors of the Axis and Allies pieces, including the two-tonal difference between the infantries of each power and their other units. So generally, with the exception I think of the United States, the other powers have a darker shade of infantry unit than their other pieces. I'm not quite sure why that is, but in order to capture that, I decided to paint them each in a slightly different shade, a darker shade. And I think I matched them pretty well. I went down to my local hobby shop and I bought cans of Tamiya. So this was the United States color that I used. And then I clear coated them to protect them. And everything's done with flat colors. I don't shine up anything. Now, you might be wondering, why didn't he camouflage everything or replace the pieces in reverse order? I didn't replace any pieces. I kept all the original pieces because I wanted to capture as much of the original flavor of this game as possible. So I kept the original pieces. Now, why not jazz up the camouflage of each of these units then? Well, I have seen a lot of players take on camouflage for Axis and Allies and what they do with their pieces, and I can't believe how over the top some people have gotten, and teach their own. But to me, I feel like when I look at that, all the color, it looks like someone hit a piñata over the board and it just like exploded everywhere. If I walk up on someone's table who has all these painted pieces, it's hard to tell what the heck's going on for a while until I get acquainted. And I don't want to overtax my opponent's brain or my brain any more than I have to. I see that as something that is unnecessary. There's a reason everything was painted, and each country has its own color. This makes it simple so you can see where everything is. So I tried to preserve that as much as I could. Now, not to be too much of a hypocrite, but as you can see, my aircraft are a little different. They're a little jazzed up, right? So why did I do that? A couple reasons. One, space. When you put these bad boys on the flight stands, it saves some space. Another thing, yes, I added the decals. The reason I did this to the aircraft, putting them on stands and adding decals, is because aircraft are just so powerful in this game. Their reach alone is so influential, let alone their attack and, in the case of the fighters, the defense capabilities. right? So I gave them a boost, you know, to draw their attention just a little bit, because again, thinking of me and my opponents, I don't want anybody to forget that a fighter was somewhere when it was just lying next to a tank on the ground. No, now you don't have an excuse. Where they are on the board is very obvious, I should say. So I will say one thing about the Japanese. Painting these was a little bit difficult. There really is no preset spray can for these guys. I had to load up my airbrush and get this mango color right and this macaroni yellow color. So that was a little more difficult to do than just spraying the pieces. And oh, another thing, the tanks I sanded. I sanded the bottoms of these guys. If you have an original copy, I challenge you to go pull out some pieces and tell me that the bottoms aren't rounded like bulbous on the bottom. All my tanks in this game pretty much rocked and rolled like they were on a baby in a cradle type of thing. So I sanded all those down flush and flat to give those tanks a little more professional look as they rolled across the map. So that's all I'll say about the my painted pieces and why I did what I did there. One other small modification I made was I magnetized my aircraft carriers by drilling small holes in the bottom and shoving 2mm magnets in there that paired well with the fighters. And I'm not going to explain how to do all of this stuff. There's there's definitely some videos out there already that cover that very well. In fact, that's where I got some of these ideas. So those are the pieces, and now you'll see I've made other modifications. I replaced the paper money in this game with these poker chips here, and these poker chips are available on iwillnevergrowup.com, as are the flight stands, I should say. Both of those modifications are available on iwillnevergrowup.com, and other than the actual modification of blowing up the board and making my own board itself, I'd say these poker chips are huge. I love them. This paper money I have here from the original game is so flimsy and blows around. I don't like any paper money in this game at all because of that. I've had people walk by the board and had money blow on the ground, and then you don't see it all the time, and then you're wondering where the heck did this come from. Well, not so with these bad boys. You won't have any lost money like that. And then yes, I replaced the rondels. These are available on historicalboardgaming.com. They're a little thicker and they just look better, a little more professional look. So we're coming to the end of the video here, but can't leave without talking about storage, right? Those cheap styrofoam trays. Hang on, I think I got one. Yeah. So this is what you get in the game, and as you can see, they don't stand up well. But I went down to my local Michael's and found this cool little tray. So that's where I got it, and it's perfect. It fits. You don't have to mix anything but the submarines and the transports, which I think is okay. Everything else can get its own compartment, and there's really no wasted space. There really isn't, which is, I was first recommended the Huskies, so I bought a bunch of those, but I hated digging down so deep. Oh, here's one, yeah. I hate digging down in there trying to get the pieces out and scraping them up the sides. This is barely an inch high and fits everything just so nicely. So that's why I went for my storage. And yeah, I printed out a sticky of each roundel and put that on the fronts of each of my plastic containers. And then yes, I did keep one Husky available for the chips and the dice, and these are the gas gauge markers for the aircraft. If you fly out and you're not sure if you'll remember that this guy had 2 movement factors left after combat, or 3, you can throw this down in the sea zone or on the land zone where he is, and it helps you remember. And then of course I had to buy extra white chips. If you get the original game, you don't get enough white or red chips, so I went onto eBay and made sure to to get some original chips, because again, I like to keep everything original, and these are original dice. So yeah, my goal was to preserve as much of the original feel of the game as possible, and doing anything outside of that to enhance the gameplay and make it easier to play. So I think that's pretty much it. Oh, I maybe one other thing. I have a dice tray here. I like a big dice tray, and this one's like 17 inches long by like, I don't know, 10 inches wide or so. It's available on Amazon. That's not too crazy. You can get your own dice tray however or wherever you want. That pretty much wraps this video up. Thanks for watching this. I'm really looking forward to the next videos. We're actually going to get into these first 3 videos have really been sort of a throat clearing before getting into these next 5 videos. It's important to really understand the rules of a game, and including the small ones, because those are the ones that can get you sometimes if you don't know them. It's important, almost equally important, to understand the victory conditions. And now that I've introduced you to my board and my pieces, I feel like we're totally ready to dive in and start talking some strategies. So, thanks for watching this. All the best from the good captain, and bye-bye.